Hi YouTubers, and welcome back for another episode on the garage rebuild. In this episode, we're starting the framing of the garage. When I started working on this, and after thoroughly studying the plans, I ran into several issues that I had to figure out. First, the floor of the garage was graded towards the garage door. That means that the stem wall in the back of the garage was slightly lower compared to the stem wall in the front of the garage. This was done so that any water that would get carried into the garage by a vehicle would not pool or even flow to the inside of the garage. Second, the stem walls are 6 inches thick. That prompted me to change the framing to x6 lumber instead of x4 lumber, which is standard. The advantage of that will be that once the drywall goes on, the inside is mostly flush with the stem wall. Third, the last issue was I wanted to build the walls on the ground, then push them up. However, because all the stem walls would limit the space inside the garage to build them full length, I thought I had to improvise and build a wooden support structure that would level the ground with the walls. The main reason I thought I needed to do this is because initially I planned to build all 4 walls as one piece each. That changed throughout the build as I learned more about it. I recommend building logical sections, much easier to deal with. So here you see me build the support structure to level out the floor. To be honest, this didn't fully work and was in the end mostly useless. I should have just built a section directly on the floor, but we learn. As I had mentioned in the earlier videos, the size of the door openings needs to be bigger than the actual door. Once the concrete was poured and I measured this opening, it was actually just under the required 8 feet or 96 inches. So I ended up cutting and chiseling off another 1.5 inches, as you can see here. By the way, the reason I'm cutting off smaller strips is because the cutting disc is only so long, so you'll have to do this in pieces. After aligning the board with the anchors and measuring the location of all the holes down at the stem wall, drilling the holes just a tad bigger than the anchors. Finally, making sure that all the anchors are actually straight. Otherwise, the holes don't line up properly with the anchors when you're trying to lower the base plate onto the stem wall. I found the easiest way to straighten the anchors was by fastening a nut to the top and hitting the hammer against the nut. This protects the threads on the anchors. I typically aligned the base plate with the stem wall and then used the speed square to draw a line where the anchors were. Finally measured the distance from the edge of the wall to the anchor and transcribed that to the base plate. This is not the fastest way of doing this, but it turned out to be the best way for me to stay very accurate with my holes. Then before the Mudsill or baseplate goes onto the stem wall, I put down a layer of ridged sill plate gasket. This makes sure that there is no tiny gap between the baseplate and the stem wall. I just used a knife to cut an X where any of the anchors had to go through. Just pressing the anchors through usually rips up the gasket too much. Finally, the bearing plates and the nuts go on all of the anchors except the hold downs. I went around and first oiled and fastened the nuts. Then went around a second time with the adjustable wrench to tighten the base plate to the stem walls. Some of you may wonder why the base plate is not installed as part of the wall. There were two reasons. First, the plans seem to show what are two base plates. I'm still not entirely sure about this one, but in any case I figured it would be easier to tie down the Mudsill first, then have a second base plate on the wall section and just nail the base plate to the Mudsill. Second, I was now able to shorten the anchors just above the nuts. I didn't need to lift the wall sections all that high. Well, except for the hold downs. And so there we have it. The first part of framing is done. The Mudsill or base plate is on the stem walls. All anchors are right and the opening for the garage door is the correct size now. Next time we start with the first wall. I'll show you how I built it and how I ended up connecting it to the Mudsill. If you like this series so far or have questions or comments about anything I'm doing, please leave a comment below. Until then, please visit our Instagram page for more frequent updates. Please also like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notified as soon as a new clip gets posted. See you all soon.